Namaskar. Welcome to yet another interview as part of our Satyanveshi interactions. Today we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Anand Kadali. It is a privilege, and we are really happy to have you with us, Anand.
Thank you very much for giving an opportunity to share our thoughts about the various social initiatives we are taking up.
Anand Kadali is Executive Secretary of Sri Satya Sai Annapoorna Trust and Director of Sai Show Nutrition's LLP. Anand spent over 15 years in the corporate world before leaving it to pursue his life's passion for community service on a full-time basis. Anand had previously worked in global organizations including Hewlett-Packard, HCL, and Dimension Data in the field of computer networking and security. He is a seasoned speaker, inspiring a large number of volunteers, professionals, and students to plunge into action in community service. He also works closely with government officials in India to promote Annapoorna's cause of reaching out to more needy children who come to school hungry. These efforts have resulted in increased retention, student enrollments at schools, rise in academic performance, and improved health profile among rural school children. He holds a bachelor's degree in engineering from Geetham in Visakhapatnam and an MBA from ICFAI University, Hyderabad. Speaking about the program itself, which Anand represents today, Annapoorna Breakfast Programme for Needy School Children, the Sri Satya Sai Annapoorna Trust is a charitable trust headquartered in Mudanhali, Chikkabalupur district of Karnataka, India. As a volunteer-driven organization, the trust, which was set up in November 2015, primarily strives to give nutritious, well-balanced breakfast to all school-going children in rural India and disadvantaged sections of the society. It also seeks to enable the holistic development of children by actively engaging with the school authorities and helping them integrate an ethos of academic as well as human excellence. Its flagship activity, Annapoorna Breakfast Programme, has been conducted by over 600 volunteers, providing free morning nutrition to over 5 lakh school-going children at 6,000 plus schools located across 17 states and 3 union territories. The program has led to an excellent reception in the schools as well as a positive impact in terms of increased attendance, better health, and improved academic performance of the children. Annapoorna Trust also distributed relief kits containing monthly groceries to needy families in various states of India recently. So, Anand, coming to the questions themselves, pursuing one's dreams and passion is something which is commendable, and especially when it comes to community service and social work. Starting from your own story, what made you switch to from the corporate world to that of social work and activism?
Thank you for asking me this question in the first itself. I would like to say that many of us are kind of driven by a certain sort of work to be done for the needy children or the needy people which we come across. But my inspiration has been my guru, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, and my parents have actually brought me under the guidance of his teachings. And the very concept of love all, serve all, and help ever, hurt never, considering the many social projects Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba has taken up, that has actually brought in this idea for me also to do something good for the many of the people who need our support. So I am just like anybody else, working for a corporate company. During those 8 years back, I was, as usual, working for a corporate giant and taking care of my family. And somewhere down the lane, like how we do this Sunday service for the needy. So we landed up going to one of the schools on a particular day, which was a function which they have organized. And we went with some chocolates, etc., to that school. It so happened that while we were distributing those chocolates, a couple of the children over there were really anemic, and they could not actually withstand the heat which was there. And many of the teachers told that they come to school with an empty stomach. So here is something where we saw an opportunity for us to do something for the children. And that's how the idea of doing something like a morning breakfast started. Let me be very honest over here. I have seen people doing something as a lunch program. You would see them doing or an evening program for some of the needy people. But doing something in the morning, especially for children, was not heard of. And I'm not too sure if organizations which have done earlier, I appreciate if they're doing it. But in my own knowledge of knowing about the various NGOs working, we haven't seen somebody doing in the morning. So it was very unique for us, and we termed it as a breakfast program in the morning. And we started doing this everyday morning, going to the school. So it all started like that in a very small way. Your question was, what inspired you to do it? It's just that the inspiration of looking at the children and their smiles and their expectations that we will come again the next day was the only inspiration for me. So once I go back home, I think about their smiles, and it's good that we have yet another opportunity and grab some of the friends and prepare something for them in the morning and go and distribute. So that's as simple as that.
And that's commendable, really, really noble work, commendable. I was wanting to also understand in terms of, you just mentioned that it started off that simple, right? So it was basically that you see certain realities around you, and that is thereafter you wanted to take a step towards addressing them and resolving them. Was that how the entire trust and the idea of this program was conceptualized? Was that primarily how it came to be?
It was a hard step for many of us because getting up early morning, and most of us know early morning we get up and we have our own time for ourselves, reading a newspaper and watching television for some time or doing something else like a morning prayer. So it was a shift for a few of us. We just thought, okay, let's do this as our own morning habit, and getting up at 6 o'clock, preparing something for the children, and be at the school at 7 o'clock. The school was about 15 kilometers away from where we stay. It's a rural village, and it's near South Bangalore, near Mysore Road. And then when we started, we enjoyed doing this work. We had this roster, and every day a particular menu used to come, and we had a couple of our friends. Some people work for Infosys, some were working for Wipro, some people were working for HP, and I was working for another corporate giant. Like that, each of us took turns. Some of the corporate business entrepreneurs also joined us, and things were going good. From 2012, when we started this program, for about close to 2 years, we focused only doing for one school because we were not too sure, if we can expand this program, considering the lot of other, official professional work which we have. But later on, the teachers over there started kind of insisting, or rather, they were asking us to support them. And we picked up another 3 to 4 nearby schools. And we realized that, this is definitely making a good inroads because there has been proven attendance improvement, academic performance of the child is increasing. And more importantly, punctuality, because when you know that somebody is providing morning breakfast at the school, even you and me, when we were in our college times, imagine if we had been provided morning something to eat in the canteen completely free of cost. Naturally, we will go there first to have our own breakfast. So it's the same thing, same concept of making the child have his breakfast, and the kind of breakfast they had, we also had the same breakfast there, so there is no differentiation. So if there was a idli vada on that day, it is the same thing for us. We used to sit and have it. Chapati, sometimes dosa, sometimes something else. And just to make them happy, that we used to sit along with them, have our own breakfast, and we used to go from there to our offices. So morning starts at 6 o'clock, and from there straight to office so that you're on time. And then you finish your work and come back by evening 7 o'clock, plan for next day's itinerary. But the question is, when we did for 2 years, people were asking us, how do you raise your support system? How can you present yourself as a registered entity, which is very much important because today, till now, you've been doing it as a work from your experience, and many of the people are coming forward and doing it. But there should be an entity to, represent. And that's when we have formed Sri Satyasai Annapoorna Trust. Yeah, it isn't so easy to form a trust. We had to go through a bit of understanding how a trust needs to function, and we brought in trustees to head this program. And thanks to the government of Karnataka support, we got the relevant permissions for our 80G and 12-year certificates, because we had a proven 3-year track record of our work done, appreciation letters, government support. It all helped us to get everything in place by 2015. So November 2015, when we operated officially as Annapoorna Trust, we flagged off our first project of taking up 90 schools. That was the idea we had, and 90 rural schools. We are not looking at trying to do for urban schools, and this went on to in searching for the right district as well. So we didn't want to go something away from our place of work. So right next to Bangalore, there is this district called Chikbalapur district. It's about 1.5 hour drive for us to reach that place. So it was easy for us. So we identified this particular rural district to take up our first project, took the government permissions, and that's how we started.
Really, very nice. So, I mean, when it comes to underprivileged children, I think there are a lot of varied issues and problems that need to be addressed. So to just give a little bit of statistics here, I mean, in India, less than half of India's children from the age of 6 to 14, go to school. 70 in every 1,000 children in India do not see their first birthday. That is a mortality rate out there. 74% of children below the age of 3 months are anemic, and more than 50% of Indian children are malnourished as it stands. So according to you, I mean, obviously there needs to be a multi-pronged approach and a comprehensive kind of plan to go forward with it. But what are the greatest challenges that, because you have worked very closely and, have been in touch with children, for underprivileged children, what are the greatest challenges that you see them facing today, and what are the ways one can kind of address them in a proper manner?
Yeah, so before I can explain those challenges, let me also kind of share certain processes which we started doing it, which can actually correlate to the challenges. So the first and foremost thing is, how are you doing this breakfast program? So we don't have large mega kitchens as such, where we prepare the breakfast and deliver it to the schools. The idea behind is we want to involve the local village communities as well. We also want to involve the teachers of the school. We also wanted to involve our own volunteers to come and join. And we also would like to involve the government. So it's a decentralized model. So every school had 3 stakeholders. One is the volunteer from our end. We had the teacher and the cook as another stakeholder. And we had the larger government of Karnataka to support this program. So if you go back and see, the support staff for Annapoorna is close to 6,000. Support staff members are there, and these members are basically the school teachers and the cooks over there. So when we had this decentralized model, the scaling was very fast. It was very easy, and one after the other, people started calling and asking for starting the breakfast program. And it's very simple, if you can help us get the right village community head and school teacher and a cook. And what will Annapoorna do? Annapoorna will help in providing the 1-month dry ration item. So it's similar to what you and me, when the month end approaches, we go to our stores and we take for complete 1 month, whatever is needed for us. Same is the case. Here also, we know what needs to be provided on which day, and we actually formulated the entire roster. And once the roster is formulated, they're very clear. And we used to tell, this is the box which contains the rice, the dal, the oil, everything which is needed. And it was given to the school authorities with all the sign-offs. And then a report was also given to the government education department so that everything is clear. So this box which contains this whole items was used for preparing the breakfast. And our volunteer used to go there, check the food, how it has been prepared, what kind of taste, if they are liking it or not. And so the whole thing of quality assurance was also happening. So coming back to your question was, what are the various challenges which you faced, considering that this logistics, which required not more of machinery, but more of people. It's just a concept of people management than the machinery over here. So 2 things happened. Very, very much positive was the engagement from the local communities. But at the same time, I would say, no activity is simple. It has to go through its own challenges. So many of the schools had a bit of, I would say, thinking whether we will be able to sustain this model, because that's also very important, because you're playing with the children. Please understand, you're giving it to children. And if you don't give it to them next day, what will happen? So that was also very honest. So we said, no, we will definitely ensure that this happens on a day-to-day basis. So that confidence level was the first thing which we had to bring in. That was number one. That was initially a challenge, though not now. Second was logistics was provided to the cooks, and very gratefully, I would say they have been so meticulous in the usage of those grains and whatever food grains which we give. So we believed in them. We never had this cross-checking happening whether it's been used or not, because they had this comfort level with us. So we built that self-belief in them, that we don't generally come up and check every time now and then. Having said that, any couple of cases we came across, so we have to take our action. So we have to once again go and counsel them. So I wouldn't say 100% we were absolutely, not absolutely able to drive the program. One or two cases happened where, a bit of pilferage would have happened knowingly or unknowingly, but still we addressed it. So that's not a problem. But the question over here is that we were able to address this morning nutrition for school-going children. But then we realized that many of the children are highly anemic. And the breakfast program which we started is always good for them to, keep themselves, attend to in the class. But their overall health posture still needed those micronutrients. We call it as something like some boost or a Complan or a Horlicks, which generally we tend to have at our home. It was missing in these children. So we thought, we should also address this malnutrition as an aspect. And so government over here gives the milk powder. So we had our own, manufactured, SciSure. We call it as SciSure Health Mix. It's quite similar to Pediasure. Most of us use this word called Sure, Pediasure. So like that, we had this SciSure micronutrient health mix, which is manufactured by our outsourced partners. We have a formulation for that with all the right vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, everything which is more needed for a child. And then this SciSure was FSSAI certified. We got the permission from the government, and with their permission, we have actually now started giving this health drink to close to 3 lakh children in Karnataka. So in one way, what has happened is we started this program exactly to reduce this anemic conditions of the children. And as rightly told by you, 50% of the population which is completely under malnourished state, we were trying to address it. So the whole tagline of we are called as a only nutrition program or a morning breakfast program, we slightly changed it. We want to say we are only just not morning breakfast. We are deep into it. We're trying to address the nutrition needs of a child. To an extent, either you and me may not be even having it. For example, a child needs that particular highly nutritious health mix powders, which we are giving it. But I'm telling you, we may not be having that in our own body. So we also had to, show a way to elders, to adults, to teachers, also to have this nutrition milk powders, so that it will help you to have a higher immunity to any of the diseases which might come up later. So this answers your question, I believe, because today at this point of time in the current COVID state, we are just not doing it for school-going children. We have started a program with severely acute malnourished, we call it as SAM, and moderately acute malnourished, we call it as MAM. For both the categories of children, now we are supplying this SciSure health mix. Government is providing a milk powder, and we are providing the SciSure health mix. Together, we are trying to address the malnutrition state here in Karnataka.
Right, and very interesting, views on that. And it's such a multifaceted kind of, problem and a situation, essentially, when it comes to addressing the concerns and interests of these children. when it comes to nutrition and nourishment for these children, obviously it also helps with development of faculties. It helps in increased attendance, as we were discussing, and better academic performances as well. So what are your thoughts on the associated positive impact of this work, not only in education, but also in things like social empowerment and, even obviously employment as well, eventually? I mean, how does this orient them in a manner which is not just a benefit in terms of getting the food that they get and the nutrition they get thereof, but also the other associated positive impacts that come from that?
Yeah, so firstly, the more important point which I would like to share is the scale at which we were doing this. So we started, increasing our scale to other states as well. Many of the volunteers came from other states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu, and various other places. Wherever we had our volunteers, they've all pitched in. But the whole idea how they actually came to us is a bit different. They used to come and ask. Many of our volunteers come up and say that I know Annapoorna is doing this morning nutrition program, but here is a different requirement. There is a water need for one of the schools in the place where I hail from. This person hails from Andhra Pradesh, and he's working for a corporate company. And I understand he was kind of looking at one of the nearby school, and he observed they don't have proper drinking water. So they approached us and said, can you do something for the children? So the entry to that school happened through providing a simple water purifier. It's just about 15,000 rupees, a nice, 50 liter per hour machinery set up in the school. And you should see that volunteer was so excited, that Annapoorna immediately responded. Even today, if you go and see our website, it has a help chat wherein you can type in your challenge or your whatever challenge you see in a particular school, and we respond back to that challenge. So that's how the water need came up, and through water need we address the breakfast need for them. And not naturally, the teacher used to say there are certain children who are very anemic, or they are not eating properly, or they have some issue with their eyes, with their nose, with their tongue, or could be any part, could be some disease which we can definitely support them. So naturally we brought in doctors. We used to do this health screening for the children. We call it as Divine Mother and Child Health Program. And under this program, we bring in doctors. They do the screening of the children, and quite a lot of them, at least to my knowledge, out of 100, if you see, at least 20 to 30 children needed spectacles, and because they could not even read out what was put on the blackboard. And sorry to say this, 4 to 5 hearing machines were needed, because some children could not even hear what they were saying. And like this, just not nutrition, we started focusing on water needs. And then with that small initiative of putting a water purifier, now we have set up large drinking water plants in about close to 30 villages across various parts of India. And it was addressing the need of close to 5 lakh village elders, children, everybody to an extent possible. And most importantly, the other aspect was, addressing the need of toilets construction. It's a fact that many of the children, especially girl children, do not come to schools after their 6th grade or 7th grade. And, we know the reasons why they don't come. So the whole idea was just to see how we can set up a simple girls' toilet in the school. And that made a lot of difference. So we started investing our time, putting up these toilets constructed wherever needed, and urinals, boys separately and girls separately. So like this, when we started doing it, it encouraged much of the girls to come back to schools. It's not the case everywhere. I wouldn't say it's the case in all the villages and all the schools. Certain exception, wherever there is a need, definitely we used to go and pitch in over there. So that's how the sanitation came into picture. And lastly, and most importantly, keeping yourself very clean. Many of the children, do not have the right hygiene in place. To an extent, we used to even give toothbrushes, toothpaste, chappals to wear, proper dressing, and also a bit of sanitizers, hand sanitizers, soaps, to take it back to home and use them. Oil, home, everything. It's basically, we would say go back come very well dressed for tomorrow's class. So, and I'm very happy to tell you, when we gave this next day, you should see the way they come to school. They come like absolute, the right word to use is we are so decorated themselves. They come to the school and they are so, they have used whatever has been given by us. So likewise, just not nutrition, healthcare, water, sanitation also started becoming a part of our program. And it is really uh, uh, interesting to tell that this led to proper education as well. Children who are sometime earlier were not able to study well, they started performing well. And in the course of time, we have also identified some of the children who wanted extra education support, sponsorship of some sort required. So we identified children who are moving from 5th grade to 6th grade, and then we kept them in good schools. Satyasai schools are available in India, and especially in Karnataka, there are new schools coming up under Satyasai education institutions, and we identified such children and we put them into this schools. So by doing so, what we brought in is another concept called as each one educate one. So the idea was, because the overall thing is to take care of a child's hostel needs, because education is free in Satyasai schools, but the hostel needs, whatever is needed for the child, that's been taken care by one of our one of our volunteer. So what the volunteer does is, I will take care of this particular boy or girl's complete educational sponsorship. So no pressure on anybody. It's very simple. It could be about 25,000 to 27,000 a year. And he's to accept of each one, educate one. So like that, we brought in the education aspect also through breakfast program.
Excellent. So, obviously there was a comprehensive plan of sorts, and you have expanded and diversified so much in terms of the interests of these children. My next question is slightly different from this particular subject, and it has more to do with the whole idea of social work and charitable aspects of our lives. In today's fast-paced, cutthroat world, altruism and charitable aspects often take a backseat for many people. And that is why, as I started this interview, I wanted to highlight that it is commendable that you pursued this passion of yours. But according to you, what are the ways in which one could involve, engage, spur and encourage these key aspects of humanity? In terms of community work, in terms of social work, in terms of helping, the people who do require help, or who we could engage with on these subjects. What are your thoughts on that?
See, I would say there are 3 points to highlight over here. I wouldn't say that people have to do some large programs for the community. It all starts at your home.
Yes.
When I say at your home, you keep your children at home and your family at home happy. That's the first beginning. Okay, so you need to ensure that you help them first. So keep your home first in the right direction. Help them whatever the needs are, because while doing so, you become compassionate. You become much more loving to your children or to your family members. Imagine when you're sharing their load of work, they also feel happy, and there is this concept of happiness spread to the entire family happens. So when you do that, naturally your compassion brings into the next step, which is a very simple thing like helping your own housemaid. For example, somebody comes to your home to help. We don't know her story. Basically you ask, she might tell, she probably might be having a boy or a girl studying in some government school, or some support is needed. Whatever best you can do, you can always do for such kind of scenarios. And that's how we also share and care for outsiders. So it all begins at home. A simple thing like this, just imagine, for a festival which you celebrate at home, you prepare some sweets or you buy clothes for the housemaid's son or a daughter. Imagine the kind of happiness the maid will have, So they feel so happy that, we have met such a wonderful family. Start like that, very simple. And then, if you feel that, yes, definitely, this is really helping me make a better individual out of me, I can spend much time going out and doing something. Start very small, try to identify a nearby, I'm sure definitely we'll find a nearby government school, or it could be a slum area where are some needy children are there or some needy poor families are there, whatever best you can do, you do not do something every day. Whatever best you feel like you can do, you do it out there. But the idea is just not keeping it and doing it to yourself. If you can bring in 2 or 3 members in your community, just tell them, hey, it would be nice if we can do something for this particular group of members. They're kind of really different state or difficult state. So if you can inspire them and join and make them join, that definitely is the only way, I would say. I am not saying that please join Annapurna or please join any of our activities. Very simple. This whole Annapurna concept was started not to tell that we are doing for 5 lakh children or tomorrow we'll do for 10 lakh or 50 lakh children. The idea is Annapurna is just a volunteer program. It's a people's movement. You get inspired by watching movies, you get inspired by looking at work which is happening outside. Just like that, Annapurna is also. You look at Annapurna website, if you are inspired by doing by what they are doing, maybe you can also do something in a small way and just slowly make it happen. So that's the only advice I have for people. We definitely see there's a lot of traction for doing good work, and every time you do something good, naturally the outcome will be trying to do much more bigger than what you did earlier, and that's how you can measure yourself as well.
Right. Um, Going back to your initiative and the Annapurna program as well. I mean, I think briefly mentioned about quality control, and I mean also about the nutritional aspect of things. Nutrition is obviously about providing and obtaining the kind of food that is required for growth and an all-rounded development. Physically, mentally, in various ways. So in terms of specifically about quality control and the nutritional aspect of the food that is provided, I think you briefly mentioned about that in one of your previous responses. What are the steps, what are the checks and balances, what are the things that are done by your program to ensure that that is given to the children?
Yeah, so valid question. I would say it all starts with me. When I say quality control, the kind of food grains which is being given to the children, the same thing is also used at my home. Right. That's how I measure myself. So in fact, I would say the higher quality is given to them, and then we would rather get kind of used to whatever we are used to having at home. So that's the first way to begin. We never want to go with a different concept. Give the best to the child, ensure the child gets the right nutrition. All it matters is an extra expense of 10 to 15%, but that should not differ your attitude to children who are really needy. The concept is like this, more than the giver like us, the receiver is greater, because the person who is getting, he is giving an opportunity for us to do some activity. So we should always feel humbled that we are getting an opportunity. It's like this, if a relative comes to your home, or if you go to a relative's house, you go with a good, I would say nice quality sweets and just go and give it to them, or good quality fruits to them. So how you're showing the respect for them. Same thing happens over here as well. So this is exactly the concept we use for quality. When we give the right quantity and the right relevant food materials, we definitely ensure we give high quality food grains to them. But more important is checks and balances, because once you give it, naturally you need to ensure that the school maintains a register, and if I'm giving for that particular school about 100 kgs of rice which is needed for a particular time, so they maintain a register, and they will tell us on this particular day we use 2.5 kgs or 3 kgs. The register is maintained just like any midday meal program which is happening in their schools. The same formula is applied for breakfast also. If the government gives for the midday meal program in these rural schools a set of ration, and they maintain a register, the same thing happens with Annapurna. So it is quite simple for them. In fact, the idea of this quality, checks and balances were actually given by teachers only. They said, sir, you give us this ration items and we will tell you how to get it checked and balanced. Because as I told you, we are new to this whole thing about 3 to 4 years back. We were just learning, and for every good work you do, naturally the laws of nature came forward and they helped us as well. And it helped us to do it in the right way. And one last thing about this checks and balances as well. Sometimes you'll be surprised to hear that there would be an additional food grains which are still left over. And the teachers used to call up and say, sir, I already have for the next month an extra portion of food grains. So better you don't send me the same extra amount. I can balance with this, and you can send me whatever is remaining. Look at the whole thing of self-belief, self-confidence, and confidence in them that they can drive this program, number one, and giving us the confidence also. Sir, you don't worry, we have this food grains, you just need to. And sometimes it so happens that because of some paucity of time, maybe the grains were not delivered on time to them. There were certain occasions where we could not deliver it on time. During those times, they used to talk to a local village vendor, and they used to get those extra rice grains or oil packets or whatever, and continue the program. And they just used to say, sir, we have managed for this 3-4 days time. You don't need to worry. Of course, we used to go back and pay the vendor from where they have got it. But look at how they have come forward. They have gone to an extent of helping us in a larger extent. So quality assurance is something as a concept is definitely an involvement of both us as well as the school authorities and the local village panchayats. And we are able to do it quite considerably without any challenges.
So, I mean, that covers the quality control bit of it. In terms of the nutritional, constituents, basically, I mean, a growing child obviously has certain very specific requirements, for instance. So is there a way in which a plan or a, way of going about with providing the necessary nutritional requirements, is done under this program,
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we started this program, first and foremost, we always think the child, what the child likes. The simplest thing for me is to just ask my own child, what do you like? He'll say, I like puri, or he'll say, I like dosa, or I like idli. I don't like upma. He'll very clearly say, I don't like upma. Or he'll say, I don't like this particular thing, which is absolutely a fact. Sometimes people don't like that particular model of upma which has been prepared. So we go and talk to the children and we ask them, what is that you like? So because that's when you get to make it more interesting for them. And they tell this is what they like. They like poha, especially if you go and see in Maharashtra, Pune, or if you like to go and see somewhere towards the north of India, they like poha. And poha was never a plan in our menu of items. So because we're all South Indians and we are good at eating rice or something related to idli, dosa, etc. And so the regional palette used to change. So what we used to do is, once we know this is the regional palette, we used to bring in the right nutritionists into our foray, and we used to ask them how we can bring in the other part. For example, if you give just rice, it's only carbohydrates. So we try to bring in something like proteins or vitamins. We bring in groundnuts. We get some groundnut chutney done, or a curry made out of groundnuts. Various other vegetables which are needed, carrots, brinjal. These things bring in a lot of much needed other nutrition which is required for the child. And so likewise, we are very meticulous. If you go and see our website, we have 3 nutritionists with us, and they help us in telling us which is the right model for which region. And accordingly, we have been kind of making it. Sometimes we may not be able to give the same variety, a different variety all the 6 days. Sometimes it would repeat. For example, if I'm giving something like chapati on Monday, the same thing will also be on Friday also. Because that's what they like, so we need to slightly change it. So Tuesdays it could be a poha, Wednesday it could be idli, or Thursday it could be rice khichdi. All these items just take only half an hour to prepare. In fact, the chapati story is even more different. Chapatis are actually prepared by the village community itself. So we give them the flour, rice, we give the flour, the wheat flour to them. We give them oil also to whatever they need for making the chapatis, and they prepare. One house prepares 10 chapatis. So like that, there are 10 houses and they prepare 100 chapatis. 100 chapatis go and get delivered at the school. Morning, fresh, 8 o'clock, hot chapatis are available. So what's the need of even talking about logistics? The whole thing is taken care by the village community itself. Look at it, how they're able to come with new, unique ideas. In my home itself, many of my people who stay over here, the neighbors come forward and they give 10 chapatis on a particular Thursday. We have this model of getting chapatis from the flat. and 10 chapatis from each of the flat members, and we have 100 chapatis, and we go to the school and distribute. And you don't believe, the only thing which they like with chapati is jam. They like sugar. Look at, leave aside all the chutneys or whatever. And same is the case with our children, right? I know jam is not, too much of sugar is not good for the health. I wouldn't say that. But children are children, they would say, can we get some jam? So we go buy one jam from the local kirana stores and give it to them, and they apply jam. They relish eating it. And that's it. Your day is done. You go to your office with all the happiness which they gave to you. So it's a blessing in disguise for us. You don't need to go and pray to God at your home. Feeding these children in the schools is enough for you. That your prayer is done. You can go, and their blessings are there all through the day, and you can make yourself happy all through the day. So
I think it's so satisfying. I'm sure it's really something which provides happiness and a real sense of satisfaction there. I think you raised a very important point about making the community self-reliant and feeding back into itself, especially when it comes to take care of the underprivileged, let's say, in a locality. And community action is very key. I mean, I have previously worked with certain organizations which have looked at, for instance, linking schools, in the urban and the rural areas. In your case, obviously, it's much more localized in some ways. I was just wondering, I mean, in terms of bringing that community action through and involving all the people who are, who could be involved, be it in the locality or beyond, that obviously involves a lot of awareness building, a lot of kind of engagement as well. So in terms of the specific actions that Annapoorna Trust has been doing on that front, I mean, because here it almost seems it's very spontaneous, right? The villagers you mentioned in your previous response. What are the things that are done by the trust to kind of get them into the family, into the fold, involve them and make them care for the people in their localities?
See, firstly, you need to understand, especially to the village community, the simple mantra. See, I'm coming from 15 kilometers away or 10 kilometers away to your village. Right. And then I'm here to support your own children. I'm not even supporting any other children. And your own children who are studying in a school which is in your village. So all I would rather do is get something, probably like chocolates or something for the children, which is what we were doing earlier. Just get some chocolates, give it to them and go back. No, I'm not here for that. I'm saying we would like to give them everyday chapati, or we would like to give them everyday some rice item, So yeah, this is where you were asking me a question about how are you empowering the women. So in a village, we have two to three women, and they come forward and say, sir, I can do it on a monthly basis. And we would say, definitely, why not? If you can help us cook the breakfast for the children, and we'll provide you the monthly salary, and here is a 1 month ration item. We take the consent from the teacher, we take the consent of the government officials, we tell that this is a cook which has been appointed. Of course, we will go with the government nominated cooks which are there for the midday meals. But at times we also take up support from other cooks or other people. And that's a kind of a livelihood for them. So when you do it for the children, when you do it for their own children, there is no other inspiration for them. They understand that you're doing it for my children. So what is inspiration for me? So I call one woman and I say, please call 3 to 4 of your community members. Within an hour, you'll find about 30 to 40 of them standing over there. And then you can bring in the whole concept of breakfast program, what we want to do. So the question which will only rise in their mind is that, why only our village? So because you have gone to this village, I know there are many other villages. Why is that you want to do? There's so many villages like that. Somehow we have found this village through some reference. One of my friend has told, there is a known contact of mine over here. Why don't we do it over here? So we just landed over there. There's no other hidden interest for us. So we started doing over there, and they feel so happy that, just not breakfast. We are trying to do some healthcare for them. We are also trying to get some water facilities for them. Naturally, the word of mouth spreads. Then, the other village comes to know about Annapoorna Trust, which is coming up and doing something good for their village. So they come back and ask us, sir, we will also prepare breakfast our children. Please come to our village. Then I would say, why not? We'll definitely come to your village also. So now you might ask me a question, or I'll ask a question back to you. Where is this whole sense of inspiring them? You don't need to inspire them. They naturally become inspired looking at what is happening in the neighbor's village, and they'll come forward to do it. And you don't believe, I'm not so much concerned about the village community. I'm so happy to tell you the teachers who are the ones who actually take all the efforts to make the child study, they are extremely happy, because they used to tell us, earlier we were actually teaching to empty stomachs. Leave aside children who are there, all they could see is empty stomachs. And today I know when they come to school, there is something in their stomach, and I know it can sustain them for the next 3 hours before the midday meals is served. That's it. That makes them more interested. And they say, sir, you have to come to our school and start this program. I will take care of the entire logistics. Gas, vegetables, cooks, leave it to me, I'll handle it. Please get us that 1 month ration item. No, that's what we are able to do. Talk to a local general stores over there. Tell them, get me good quality items, deliver it at the school. That's it. A simple thing like this, where you're able to give one box containing all these food grains, that makes the entire thing work. And who does it? Not Annapoorna volunteers. The local staff does it over there. Local cooks do it over there. Local school teachers do it over there. That's how we're able to scale it faster.
And that's absolutely, I think that spontaneous, what would you call it, self-organization almost, and self-inspiration. I mean, just being inspired because of the realities, because of the way in which this is such a relevant thing for people around their children as well. So I think that is a beautiful thought, and I think that is a truth that will go forward. But I also, one point which comes to mind is the fact that this also obviously has to be a larger comprehensive program in the country. So for instance, food security is such an issue. I mean, we were discussing the statistics before. And in this, the private sector, the public sector, the government, media, civil society, there is a need for a greater outreach also in certain ways, because, one may have certain pockets which one can cater to, and one really would do a great job. And your trust has been doing an absolutely tremendously beautiful job there. But at the same time, I mean, if you were to yourself look at the place beyond this, like, go a step higher, looking at the countrywide issue as such, from your experience, what do you think is the most effective way to kind of engage with these other stakeholders as well, such that this larger problem of food security, especially for underprivileged students and children, is kind of addressed in an effective manner?
See, I would say we were initially trying to bring this concept of breakfast program for the children, and it is a concept very new for many of the people. So we have to prove ourselves. I would say a lot of volunteers need to go back and tell that yes, it is impacting their livelihoods, etc. So this took close to about 5 years. 2012 we started, 2017 till 2017 we were doing in our own way. And slowly, when people realize this program is really impacting, I would say governments, states came forward, and they actually understood the whole model, and they actually wanted us to see how we can start over there. In fact, I would say I am very much grateful to them, because they have extreme support which they give for many of the NGOs who come forward to support them. It's not the other way around. So it's just that you need to have your things in place, a process in place, the quality checks in place. If you have everything in place, government always invites external parties to come and join them. So considering this as a concept, when we started this program, governments came forward and they started giving, rice and grains to us, because they're anyways giving it for midday meals. For midday meals, they're anyways giving rice and grains, food grains, etc., which are needed, dal, pulses, etc. So naturally, it's just a matter of giving another 10 to 15% of the needs for the breakfast. So that's the first step they took. Now, the second step is about trying to see, till now we are able to do it in our own limited capacities. Now, the larger thing is to engage Food Corporation of India, all this, the organizations which definitely can support us. So we have taken those right steps. We have approached them and we have talked about what we are doing it, how we are doing it, especially the SciSure micronutrient health mix, which I spoke about, the way we can actually prepare that SciSure, taking the food grains, because many of the grains sometimes might also be, they may not be used for a long time, for whatever reasons, storage issues, etc. So how we can avoid such scenarios? All you need to do is, if you can probably give those grains to us, we can actually turn them into, health mix powder for the child, and that will help in one way. And second is, help in the same way how a child gets a midday meals, help us in a similar way for the child in getting breakfast program. It need not be Annapoorna Breakfast Program. The concept is not to say It has to be Annapoorna Trust which has to do this program. We are only trying to give a thought to the government, and we are only executing and showing it to them how it can be done. And a lot of other governments have now realized, if you go and see the latest national education policy, they have clear guidelines now. Go and see there, it is very much mentioned that government is now going to initiate breakfast program for all the school children. It was never there earlier. And you might ask us, how did this whole concept has arisen? Maybe Annapurna was one of the case study for them. Maybe it could be one of the reasons, or some other NGO has also done something on the morning nutrition. That made them understand, yes, definitely a breakfast program is needed. So this whole concept of trying to bring in all stakeholders over here, like government, volunteers of Annapurna, local communities, is very much needed for any program to succeed. And it can even apply to somewhere where government's large initiatives under the food corporations happen. This is a must and need. You need to have that right support, right people to also drive the program, and we are here to do that for them.
Right. So with regards to the COVID situation at the moment, I mean, there are obviously very unique challenges you may be facing logistically and in terms of the organization. And with respect to food security and especially access to, the basic amenities and food being a very important part of it, what do you see as the challenges, firstly, obviously, and also the ways in which your organization has been addressing it, has been kind of resolving and tackling it, and more broadly in terms of the food security, the distribution systems, the problems faced on the ground in the grassroots with this pandemic that has come to be? What are the ways that we can see going forward in which they are not affected as badly as they would be otherwise?
Valid question, considering the right situation we are right now at the situation we are at. See, one thing which we actually have as our story is that we have reached to many of these village communities, and a lot of these people who are kind of lost their livelihood, and the children actually go to the schools. Now schools are also not functioning. So the good thing which we have to share is that even though the schools are not functioning, we were still able to provide to an extent possible the 1 month ration which is required for the family itself. Earlier we were trying to address the child. Now we are addressing the child and along with him the parents as well. So what happened in this whole course of engagement, we engaged with the government of Karnataka, and they identified as two projects. One is the project which I spoke about, the SAM and the MAM, severely acute malnourished and moderately acute malnourished children. Considering the current COVID state, the status would have even more been miserable. So the idea was to provide some sort of nutrition for such kind of children. So we are addressing that. But more importantly, the second project, which is a known thing to all of us, is providing the food grains. So we have a mechanism in place. We already have a logistics chain in place. We know where to go and deliver our food grains. So same thing continues over here. So, it's just that, we were giving earlier 1 box for one school. Now we started giving, 10 smaller boxes, because there are 10 needy families in that community, and we are trying to address it. That is number one. Number two, even the cooks who are kind of a part of our backbone, for them itself, we started providing a 1 month ration item. And no, you would be surprised to know that, we have done it very silently. We have not even made them know that it is Annapoorna Trust which was providing it till the last minute. Last minute, we got all the items. We called up the authorities and we told we are giving this to the family. Look at the way how we did it. And there's also one more thing which is happening right now. We are providing the 1 month salary to all the cooks, whoever is engaged with us, without any services. We are just telling that you need this at this point of time. So leave aside everything else. You don't need to do any social service for us, nothing. You're not doing anything at this point of time. No schools are there, no service is happening, but yet we provide that 1 month salaries to the cooks. Just look at it. They would have kind of got elated the way this organization is supporting them in these tough times. If not now, when can we support them? Now we are trying to go and try to also help some of the teachers. There are teachers from private schools. They have written letters in our website. As I told you, we have a chat box and you can type over there your challenge. And they have written letter to us. They have written a letter to us. We are about 50 teachers, private school teachers, working for a so and so region, and we don't have means to work, or we don't have this particular food grains. So immediately what we did, we responded back to them and we told them, look, we will send our volunteer. Please identify a local village vendor and please take those items and give us the bill and we will make the payment. And our volunteer goes there and executes the program, takes a couple of pictures which are needed for our auditor to ensure that we have proper checks and balances for everything which we do. Incidentally, you don't believe there are letters which are coming from auto drivers, and many of these people who have no more means, and they say, I'm an auto driver, I'm working at so and so place, can you help me? It's like you would see this only in cinemas, where you go to a website, you would have heard, heard about a particular website, and you go there and you type over here their problem, and there's one person coming back and helping you. Auto driver is sending a message. Immediately I get to know the mobile number of the person. I call him and say, hey, what is the problem? So he says, sir, I have this problem. Genuine problems. These are not, spam messages or fake mails. No, that also we can easily identify. Genuine problems. They come back and say, this is the problem I'm facing. Straight away, within a day's time, we will go and respond to him. Imagine the whole of happiness he would have had. He will never forget about the effort which has been done through technology, through using website, and he typing some message and we responding back to him. No connect at all. We don't even know. No Zoom call, no Facebook call, no Google Meet chat, nothing. I don't even know about him. No idea about who is this guy. But I understand there's a genuine need. The genuine need is there. Technology can be used. If I'm not able to give them the food grains, Google Pay is there, Paytm is there, Phone Pay is there. Please give your mobile number. I'll transfer some money to you. Maybe that will help you. Look at it. Within an hour's time, you're able to make a person happy. So likewise, this is, I would say, an opportunity for many of our volunteers to help us, because our fellow pilgrims, our fellow brothers who are suffering, we are all safe. Today, we and me are talking together in this call, and we are safe at our homes. There are many more people who are not safe. And if somebody comes forward and asks for, that is the time where you need to help them. Likewise, we started doing this whole program. I wouldn't say there are challenges for us in this whole distribution channel. It's just that we got much more opportunities. People even today also of various professions, teachers, lawyers. We have also supported policemen, for all that they've been doing a fantastic job of controlling the entire lockdown period. We used to go and provide them food, lunch packets to them. We, to an extent, raincoats. Some places it was raining heavily, and we used to go and give raincoats, set up shamiyanas so that they can sit up at one place in a red hot, scorching sun. All these things, may not count. But if you see at a personal level, the policeman would be so happy that somebody is there to take care of us with the kind of work they're doing. So everyone, any profession, policeman, for lawyers, teachers, all these people, slowly, we are able to kind of give the support needed. And it's an exciting journey to tell you that till date, we have touched about 50,000 families, providing the grocery kits for them, and about another close to 50,000 children are separately being provided this SciSure health mix. So overall, we are doing our best. No need to talk about numbers, how many children we have touched, how many families we have touched. That's not the idea behind this. But what is more interesting to tell you is the stories which we come to hear from them, and how they give us an opportunity to serve them. So I'm more excited to see what all messages come on my website and on our website, and how we can respond back.
Absolutely. I think, as you rightly said, it's about the essence of it, brothers and sisters who need us as we all move along. And it's not about just serving someone. There's this idea in Vedanta, for instance, that when you serve somebody, you are basically serving oneself, in a manner of speaking. So it's this beautiful idea, this beautiful dharmic thought, which is very important. And I think what you guys have been doing, what your organization, the trust, is doing is commendable. I think it's really refreshing and even soul nourishing in some ways to see the levels and ways in which you have touched lives. I mean, again, it's not about the numbers, it's about the quality, even if one person's life is touched, essentially, even that is something which is very important. I'm really thankful that you came to our interview today, Anand. You accepted our invitation. I think we learned a lot about realities on the ground, and I think food security is a very important point, especially when it comes to underprivileged children and students in India. And we also discussed a few suggestions and policy directions that can be taken to address this at the local level, as well as at the government, and independently by the civil society as well. So thanks a lot for joining us today, Anand. It was a real pleasure to have you on this channel.
Thank you. And I appreciate all the kind messages which I've been getting since last 3 weeks to help to have this call. Apologies, I could not give some time earlier, but good that it has happened today. Thank you very much. And thanks to Ria, thanks to Anand Chaudhary, who was also there in this call, who helped me get this connected. And we had a nice talk with Mrityunjay. And we look forward, please visit our website. If you have anything to talk about it, you can always comment or you can share. And let's try to do something good for our children, and also anybody whomsoever you feel like, please reach out to us. You need any requirements from our side, please reach out to us and we will definitely do it for you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks.